Last year, 5 of her players reportedly transferred to different programs. And this year, a reported 10 of the team's 12 players aren't planning on coming back.
Just because you are a great player doesn't make you a great coach.
The WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes is facing serious allegations that players are abandoning her team in shocking numbers. The situation is becoming even more complicated, with some claiming that she is targeting white players. But is there any truth to this, and how does it relate to her recent remarks about Caitlin Clark? We're going to delve into the complex world of Sheryl Swoopes, and I promise you that what we uncover will surprise you in 2016. Sheryl Swoopes' is her recent induction into the Basketball Hall of Fame had her on cloud 9, but behind the scenes, tension was simmering at Loyola University Chicago.
The allegations come just after the 6-time WNBA All-Star was inducted into the National Basketball Hall of Fame.
You know, things weren't always the best, things weren't always easy, but I always found a way.
The university discreetly started looking into Swoopes' coaching methods as she was enjoying her most recent success. Can you picture the whiplash? 1 minute you're on top, and the next you're being accused of serious crimes. Loyola University is investigating the program in the wake of allegations that she mistreated her players. According to reports, 5 team members transferred last season, and this year 10 out of 12 players requested releases to transfer. Did you hear that? That's nearly the entire team. Can you imagine going into practice and seeing that only 2 players are left? It would be like going to a party and learning that everyone else is canceled. You may have heard that the majority of her roster wanted to leave the team, bro. The majority of the roster means that every single player on the team wanted to leave Cher. That's terrible, Sue. You may be asking yourself why so many players would want to leave a club led by a WNBA legend. Given that Swoopes is a basketball legend with Olympic gold medals, WNBA titles, and a place in the Hall of Fame, you would assume that athletes would be vying for her tutelage. The reality of playing for Swoopes was far from what these young sportsmen had anticipated, rather of inspiration and direction. They discovered something far worse. As it turns out, things weren't so legendary behind closed doors. Here with the details is Lindsay Davis from BC. Good morning, Lindsay. Laura, Sheryl Swoopes was the first woman to ever sign with the WNBA, but this morning the college coach is not only under fire, but also being investigated after it was reported that most of her players had left. This isn't just any news, though major news outlets have taken notice of it, which shows how bad of a coach she truly was and makes things even more dire. Let's hear what some former players have to say about the environment she created. I was made to feel very small and degraded. You heard the young player, and let that sink in. These young women, who most likely dreamed their entire lives of playing collegiate basketball, were now feeling crushed by the coach who was supposed to mentor them. A retired basketball player for Loyola, one player, even said that she lived in constant fear of losing her scholarship. Can you imagine the stress of going to practice every day, knowing that this might be the day your basketball dreams are shattered? Just because you are a great player doesn't mean you are a great coach. Kate claims that Swoopes made it difficult for the players to play because she constantly threatened to take away their scholarships or cut them from the team. You won't believe what we learn next. The story of Sheryl Swoopes' coaching career takes an even more shocking turn when you hear accusations that will leave you speechless and a controversy that goes far beyond simply poor coaching. It's difficult to imagine a woman who dominated on the court creating such a toxic environment off it, but the numbers don't lie when nearly your entire team wants to out something seriously wrong. Keep reading, because this story's next twist will astound you. I'm here to tell you that there are probably more players out there who have stories about Sheryl Swoopes. Remember that player who spoke out about feeling denigrated? Well, there's more to her story, and it's pretty shocking. She was white, and she wasn't the only white player who felt mistreated. The environment she created made her feel small and devalued. Some people are claiming that Swoopes had a particular problem with white players. We're talking about accusations that Swoopes targeted players based on race. It's the kind of accusation that makes you stop and wonder if this is really happening in 2016, given that Swoopes has a history of downing players and essentially targeting white players. Several white players reported feeling humiliated under Swoopes' coaching. Can you imagine stepping onto the court ready to give it your all, only to feel like your coach is constantly tearing you down? One former player specifically claimed that the environment she had created made her feel small and devalued, which is not the kind of environment any player, regardless of race or skill level, should have to deal with. Now, based on her past behavior, it's obvious that she has a problem with white Caucasian players, and this whole situation is crazy. Now, you may be wondering if these accusations are true, or if a WNBA legend like Swoopes is actually doing this well. The problem is that although we can't be certain, the allegations were serious enough to prompt an NCAA investigation. When the NCAA steps in, they're looking at the big picture, not just about wins and losses anymore. They're looking at player welfare, coaching practices, and potential discrimination. It's the kind of investigation that can rock a program to its foundation. Tribune quotes the deputy athletic director saying, is aware of the probe and will assist it completely. So here we have basketball legend Sheryl Swoopes, who is accused of targeting white players. The kind of story that challenges your preconceived notions about coaching and athletics, yet it doesn't end before anyone blinks. The basketball world was shocked by the sudden turn of events, which led to Swoopes' termination and the apparent end of her coaching career. The university is now looking into the women's basketball program, telling a BC News that the well-being of our student athletes is in June of 2016. Paramount coach Swoops called the accusations false attacks and denied any wrongdoing. Of course, she denied all the accusations, dismissing them as such, but her protests were ignored. Swoops is aware of the investigation and will fully cooperate with it. The university's response was prompt and forceful. Truth was dismissed as head coach following an inquiry into allegations that she mistreated players, according to a succinct, strong statement released by the athletic director. The university said on Sunday that Swoops will no longer be coaching women's basketball at our campus here in Chicago. According to a statement from athletic director Steve Watson, a search for her replacement will start right away. Just a kind farewell and a pledge to begin looking for her replacement right away, with no other explanation or information. How does someone go from Hall of Fame to total disgrace so quickly? It's a question that's got everyone talking. Is this the same Sheryl Swoopes who dominated on the court and inspired a generation of players? We may never know exactly what happened behind closed doors, but one thing's clear: this scandal has seriously damaged Swoopes' reputation. People are questioning everything about her now, her leadership, her mentoring abilities, even her character. Remember how we thought. Sheryl Swoopes' story was over after that 2016 scandal. Well, think again. It's 2024 and Swoopes is back in the headlines, but this time it's not about her comments. It's all about Caitlin Clark, the rising star of women's basketball, is currently 201-24. Now we know she has not been seen, pretty much on the basketball court. Since then, she kind of went Mia all these years. That is until Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark popped up on the scene. It's almost like she came out of hiding well. She's coming out of hiding well. She's coming out of hiding with the vengeance, bro. A lot of fans didn't notice about SCHE that she had. All of this baggage behind her, and I'm telling you right now, this is not a good look. You may be wondering what Swoopes has to do with Clark. Well, let me tell you, people are noticing a pattern. Remember those accusations that Swoopes targets white players? Well, guess what? You decide that Caitlin Clark enters the WNBA and does what she's doing right away, and you have no idea how she can get her teammates to play with her. At Iowa, for example, she did everything. You know how many shots you want to take. Whatever you want to do with the ball, you can do. It's just a different ball game. And you have some players like Aya Boston, Alyssa Smith, and Kelsey Mitchell. Now, Swoopes is no longer coaching, but her remarks are raising eyebrows everywhere. Some folks are saying it's like deja vu all over again. It's like Swoopes can't help herself when it comes to white players. Now we know the current state of her dealing with Kayla Clark. There's a lot of things that could be said about WS, and the way she feels about Caitlin Clark now, it's no secret about it that she's a big-time Angel Reese fan. But here's where it gets really interesting. Some people are saying Swoopes' recent behavior shows she hasn't changed one bit since 2016. It's like she's stuck in the same old mindset even after everything that went down. Can you believe it after all? That drama, all those allegations, you'd think she'd have learned her lesson, but something. I want to talk about is a lot of people is wondering why she Shoes won't get into coaching or wouldn't take over the Chicago job. I believe she who can't get into coaching because she has a real issue with white players. Now you might be thinking, so what, she's not coaching anymore, right? But here's the thing. Swoopes' comments are making waves in the basketball world. It's got people asking some serious questions. Should Swoopes ever be allowed to coach again? What do you think has changed, or is this just more of the same? The basketball world is watching, and trust me, this story is far from over. Whatever happens next will undoubtedly have a big impact on the future of women's basketball. It's not just about Swoopes, though. This whole situation is bringing attention to some larger issues in women's basketball and getting people thinking about fairness and how we treat young players and what we expect from our coaches and leaders. The whole situation is forcing us to take a hard look at coaching in women's basketball. We need coaches who inspire and uplift rather than tear down and intimidate. It was the environment she created that made her feel small and devalued, bro. She was a Caucasian player, and I've been told that there are probably more players out there who have stories about playing under her. Sheryl Swoopes' journey from WNBA legend to controversial coach has everyone talking about women's basketball. The big question now is whether or not Swoopes should be given another chance at coaching. What's next for women's basketball is up to us all. We need to speak up, support positive coaching, and make sure every player feels valued. It's time to change the game both on and off the court. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Basically, 10 out of 12 kids decided to leave this basketball team because of the way she was mistreating and treating these players. This is crazy.